So this is your new leader. This is who y'all want to be the front runner of your party. Okay. Now, before I have to torture you with playing this clip and showing her incompetence in this interaction that she displayed while this panel reviewed the idea of selling federal properties that will no longer be in use, I have to show you this video first, where Elon Musk, Tesla protester, identified as a traveling professional protester, the same woman that follows around Nate, blocking him from doing interviews. Check this out, y'all.
On my way to try to find my first interview, this woman comes along and advises the people not to do an interview with me. Then she proceeds to take photos of me with her phone and then grabs a sign that says troll on it. She then, and I kid you not, followed me around the protest for the entire time I was there. The people she's guarding from an interview are folks calling for violence, holding a sign saying burn a Tesla, save democracy. And so obviously no one can be that dumb for free, so who is this woman? This is her protesting JP Morgan, funded by a campaign called 350 PDX's Defund and Divest Team.
Wow.
This is her on Capitol Hill blocking senators. So she travels for her job as a professional protester. And this is her participating in an If Not Now, a progressive Jewish organization supporting Ilhan Omar. Yet this is her on a website for a Lutheran church. Could it be that she's pretending to be Jewish? Yes, just like the people who occupied Trump Tower pretended to be Jewish. If you're wondering who the guy is signaling for help and talking very negatively about my channel in the background, he's another professional protester. Here's him freaking out at Grand Central Station. Here's him calling to vaccinate the world. And here's him supporting I don't even know what. You know the worst part about this guy? He could be teaching your child. That's right. He's a professor of health sciences at Touro University in New York.
Oh, I have another sign. Let me see that.
Yes. I know he's a right-wing troll. No, it's fine. It's fine.
Well, he cuts off the cover.
He's loving it. You're feeding it.
So this woman with an arrow was the one he signaled for help. And why?
What a shame.
Because they're teammates. Here's her standing right in front of the college professor at a completely different protest. Here's her at another protest. And another. Trump and Elon have a vicious paid opposition in this country. Over 200 Tesla takedown protests have already happened. That's not natural. And it's not just words either. It's assault. These people are going after Tesla owners.
Yes, they are. And what we're seeing right now, honestly, I would say it terrifies me, but it just disappoints me because nobody's on the left is really centered on the real enemy, which is the waste, which is the government abuse, which is the power abuse. Nobody's really centered on that. And in fact, they don't care. Every time you bring up the overall point of going after, of what DOGE is going after, they just do not care. Now we have these professional protesters who are getting paid by you guys, okay? That's insane. You can't even get people to rally for your cause in a natural way. That goes to show you that a lot of people don't agree with the rhetoric that you're spewing. The fact that you have to pay. When I went to a Trump rally, oh my gosh, I was begging to try to get up in that thing. But with y'all, it's like, you know what? We know they're not going to come, so let's just pay them. That's not wasteful. Doesn't make sense. And apparently, Crockett, she just listen.
The gentleman yields. I now recognize Ms. Crockett from Texas for 5 minutes.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. And I can tell you one thing that is crumbling for the city of D.C. was that continuing resolution that defunded approximately $1 billion from them. But I will focus on today's hearing. The Republicans' recklessness and chaotic approach to reducing the size of government has shown us what we've already known. Concepts of a plan don't work. This is the committee's fourth hearing, and still no one from the so-called Department of Government Efficiency has testified before this committee about their plans to break the federal government, because as it turns out, breaking the federal government doesn't just hurt people you don't like. It's not just going to be Democrats who miss out on Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security, or only Democratic veterans who will miss out on their VA benefits. Their approach will negatively impact all Americans. So it's unfortunate that Republicans have taken a seemingly bipartisan issue and included it as part of their scam to subsidize tax giveaway for billionaires. They haven't proposed anything that will improve the efficiency of the government. Instead, they have put the country on a path to a recession and implemented the largest tax increase on Americans in decades through Trump's tariffs. This hearing is their latest attempt to try to convince the American people that dismantling public-facing agencies will somehow improve government efficiency. Let me tell you, it won't. There's nothing efficient about terminating leases for IRS taxpayer assistance centers during tax season, nor dismantling farmer support offices in rural communities while farmers are trying to survive Trump's tariffs. And just like their trade policy, there isn't any logic or strategy behind the Trump administration's reductions in force or accelerated disposal of federally owned property. It has been discussed that managing federal property has been on GAO's high-risk list for more than 2 decades. Currently, GAO has almost 60 recommendations that the administration could fully implement, but decided to ignore. And I'm going to veer off.
Hold on. Before you do, let's unpack some of that. So they keep making this claim that Donald Trump is getting rid of Medicare. And based on the available information right now, Trump is not getting rid of Medicare. Trump has pledged to protect Medicare's financial stability without funding cuts or raising the eligibility age. His administration is focusing on shifting towards Medicare Advantage, MA plans, and implementing policies to curb overspending, such as price transparency, tackling waste and fraud, and potentially extending the $35 insulin cap to commercial plans. These actions suggest a reform approach rather than elimination. Now, on the surface level, it would be common sense to get rid of these buildings if they aren't going to be occupied or being used if they're not needed in the government anymore. I will say this, though. Personally, I do wonder if that leaves any sort of risks for any, secret compartments and stuff like that. And I would like to know what are their plans to make sure that stuff like that is taken care of. So there's just that on that. But she talked about taking away 401k or something to that effect, or how it's affecting it. There's no indication and none of the data that I have that Trump administration is taking away the 401k plans. Trump policies could impact 401ks. It says nest eggs. I'm not sure what that is. Y'all got to educate me on that. And retirement readiness. But it doesn't suggest that 401ks are being eliminated. Ooh. Yeah, man. I'll let her go ahead and veer off, though.
For 2 seconds, because all I kept hearing was fire. Fire, fire, fire is what I heard. And as I heard fire, it seems like we are talking about an administration that has been hell-bent on firing government workers. They are hell-bent on engaging in fire sales of our government buildings. And while we are at it, they are lighting the Social Security on fire, Medicaid on fire, Medicare on fire, 401ks on fire, Department of Education on fire. And instead, what we need to light on fire are Trump's tariffs. In fact, we could probably go a little bit further and fire this incompetent administration. But if we are going to talk about efficiency and worry about some solar panels, whatevers, let's talk about the fact that as of March 30th, Trump's golfing has cost us approximately $26 million. And the last time I checked, we're not getting anything in return for that. So I will get back on my remarks, but I just wanted to point out that maybe we need to talk about the president and his golfing habits.
Real quick, the Forbes, noted during Trump's campaign, he criticized Obama for playing golf, saying that he'd be too busy if he did get elected. Donald Trump, that is. But obviously, he loves to golf, and well, I ain't mad at that. The fact that he went back on that, I'm just saying. But Obama himself, he visited golf courses 139 days during his first term. No, I'm sorry. Let me get this correct. I don't want to sit here and provide no misinformation. Trump claimed he wouldn't have time for golf, yet he played at least 88 rounds, likely visited 139 times during his first term. Now, in terms of Obama, it says that he actually, I seen what a number at. I'm trying to find a number. It did left. Hold on, y'all. Let me find this number. All right, I found it. My fault, y'all. According to PolitiFact, Obama played golf 333 times over his 8-year presidency. That's from 2009 to 2017. It's tracked by CBS White House correspondent Mark Knoller. Okay, just wanted to make sure we put them out. I know it took me a little while to present it, but I lost track for a second. We back.
In fact, he decided that he was going to golf as the markets were tanking. He decided he was going to golf instead of receiving 4 heroes who died serving this country. He has decided that he wanted to play games while the rest of us are really trying to make sure that we can serve the American people.
She really thought she did something with trying to frame that like that. Come on. We know what y'all Democrats do.
So, Mr. Maroney, you were quoted in the New York Times article dated March 17th, stating that it is important for officials to have a plan to generate the most savings, and that, quote, all of these moving parts point to the need for some deliberate planning. Did the administration consult with GAO regarding their plans to dispose of hundreds of federally owned buildings?
No.
In your testimony, you highlight that one of the core issues associated with managing federal property is the lack of reliable data to support decision making. Is that correct?
Yes.
Would reducing GSA's workforce by 50% improve data gathering and analysis?
I cannot say they're.
That's perfectly fine. We know that we need experts and not idiots, but Mr. Kendall, we will move on. In your written testimony, you state some of the actions of this administration suggest that the administration is not following a strategy designed to save taxpayer money, and that the administration seems to ignore agency's mission integrity. Why do you think that?
In the list
you got
of
20 seconds.
In the list of projects, there were a couple score Social Security offices, IRS, taxpayer service offices, which those agencies, those end user agencies wanted, and yet the administration is canceling those leases. So it does imperil mission accomplishment.
Thank you so much. Oh, you're back.
The gentlelady yields, and I now recognize Mr. Burleson from.
Yeah. So, let's go to the comments. Who would show up to testify for a hearing that accuses them of having plans to break the federal government? How is this lady speaking on future possibilities when they haven't happened? Why the fear-mongering without any evidence to the accusations? I mean, Maxine Waters is still there, to be fair, somebody says. What does that even mean? Meet Sheldon Daniels, Army veteran, attorney, small business owner, and the common sense fighter running the Flip TX30. While Jasmine Crockett chases headlines, I'm building a movement to put workers, families, small businesses, and public safety first. Join the fight. Is it Sheldon Daniels? I don't know if it's Sheldon. Oh, it's Sheldon. All right, yeah, definitely, man. Sheldon Daniels. Whew. Texas. Praying for you. Right now, we got some breaking news. We got some wins. SCOTUS just ruled in Trump's favor again.
We start, though, with breaking news at the Supreme Court. It just handed President Trump another win, allowing his administration to fire hundreds of probationary federal workers. I want to get straight to Paula Reed, who was looking through the decision. Paula, what did they say?
So, Dana, this is a significant win for the administration. The fourth one they have notched from the Supreme Court in just the past few days. Here, this decision is focused on thousands of fired probationary federal workers. Now, this decision will allow the government to keep those individuals off the payroll, while the larger questions about these firings are litigated. Now, this was decided not on a constitutional issue or really on the merits. It was decided on something called standing, which is whether the individuals who brought this lawsuit had the right to do so. And here the court says that the 9 nonprofit organizations did not have standing in this case. So again, this is sort of a technical win, but it is still a win for the administration, though it's unclear how this will apply to all fired probationary workers, because a separate judge in Maryland earlier this month ordered a pause and a reinstatement of some employees that are not covered by this case. But I do want to say, Dana, the Justice Department, the Trump administration, they've been waiting for a while for good news from the courts after a string of lawsuits, and they have been getting a lot of good news from the high court over the past few days.
Okay, Paula, stand by, because I do want to come back to you in a short while about other topics the Supreme Court is.
I get it. There's a level of empathy for people who have to wake up and figure out where they finna get ready to get their next dollar from. However, we all agree with the idea of making the government more efficient and getting rid of anything that is just wasteful. I mean, if you aren't hired on and we already have the job positions filled and we just fluffing some bread for the next couple of years, I'm not with that, you know. But the Supreme Court's decision is a clear win for Trump and Musk's vision on a leaner government for sure. But it's long-term success. We're just going to have to see how it plays out. Excuse me. That came out of nowhere. I'm genuinely curious to see how it pans out in the future for sure. I would hope. I hope for the best. Witnesses confirmed that the families of politicians are profiting from leases to the federal government. Why should these people make money off of you? Isn't this the definition of corruption?
Chair Lady, thank you for indulgence and allowing me to be on this committee. I come in here usually ticked off and I leave in worse condition, so thank you for that. If I ever have a counselor, I'm going to send you the bill. Mr. Hart, do any members of Congress, their spouses, or their immediate family have any property ownership rights to this property or any federal land?
Congressman, I don't know the answer to that question off the top of my head.
Okay, do spouses of members of Congress own real property and lease it to the federal government? And how would we find that out? Because I think I know what you're going to say.
I believe the answer to that question is yes.
You do?
I do believe that.
Is there any way we could verify that information?
Well, you go to USA Spending and search, you open the books, our website, and you can look up members' names, you can look up any person's name, and find that information.
All right. I suspect that's being done as I speak. Mr. Maroney, how much underutilized space does the federal government have?
Can't say. There's not good data. We just don't have data. It's going to come this summer. Congress has now required it, but prior to this, once you got outside of headquarters, there wasn't measurement of how much the buildings
I
were
hate
being
these
used.
studies. Every day we vote on a new study, and I suspect there's some warehouse like in Raiders of the Lost Ark at the end where they're putting this, and our top people are looking at it, and there's these studies are just on these shelves in these vast warehouses. Would you agree with that assumption?
There are a lot of studies.
All right. Remember, you're whatever. All right. How much would the federal government save by allowing unneeded leases to expire?
The federal government spends about $6 billion on leased office space, so depending on how many you let expire, you get substantial savings.
As I said up here, people chastise the
$6 billion
thought of making a profit. To me, that's not an evil thing. That allows for more people to be employed. It seems that we have forgotten exactly who we work for, and it's the people back home who are struggling. Now, when I was mayor of Knox County, one of the first things I did was I said, get me a list of all the property we own in Knox County. And it was amazing to me I mean, we had property in neighborhoods. We had some of it was obviously undevelopable. So one was on the corner of a small airport. But it was all over. We had something listed as a park, and it was nothing further from a park. And we ended up selling a lot of this property, and we paid cash for schools, crazy things like that. We didn't stay in debt. And to me, that just seems like the model that the federal government should adopt. We should have a listing of the property, and the people ought to be able to review that and make better assumptions, because I think they're a lot more smarter than we give them credit for, and I suspect that's part of the problem. They don't want to let them look behind the curtain, so to speak. Would you agree with that?
Of course,
It is important to have that kind of data. There is an inventory that's available online, but
there is a inventory.
Significant issues with this reliability.
Mr. Hart, would you care to address that?
We would like to enhance the transparency of all of that data.
Enhance? Why don't you just be transparent?
I think it's one of the most important assets that taxpayers should be able to review the cost so that they can make good decisions. And again, the purpose of transparency is to empower taxpayers. Transparency is not a two-way street. The government does not have the right to inspect our checkbook. Taxpayers do have the right to inspect the government's checkbook because it's their money.
Mr. Kendall, would you care to offer your...
I'm all in favor of transparency. No objection.
It seems our friends in the media always strive for that, and then and we get pretty gutless up here. So I would hope in the future we would address that. So I'll yield my 49 seconds back to you, Chair Lady. Thank you for your indulgence, ma'am.
It's the spiritual accelerationists put it. They write the laws, then cash the checks. Sounds less like public service, more like insider real estate hustle. Y'all, please go check on somebody today. You could be saving their life. Thank y'all for the likes, comment, and shares. Be safe.